My brother. David, man, I appreciate it. Another day. We made it back. Another week. We doing it. We doing it, man. How you doing today, my brother?
Yeah, I'm chilling, man. Just hanging in there. You know what I'm saying? But you right. We made another
It's
one.
all hey, it's always a pleasure to hear you, man. Always a pleasure to speak to you. Um, we gonna do a little something different this time, man. I seen something on Twitter. I've been real like I watch. I know you see. I retweet a lot of stuff because I just feel like people that might follow me, they might think it's interesting what I retweet. They got this clip of Fat Joe saying that Latinos created hip hop with Angie Martinez, and then they got another clip with Busta Rhymes, who is a non-FBA, saying the same thing, saying that blacks and Latinos created hip hop. Now, my question to you is, why do they think that they can say that? Why? Why do they think that they can say that? Because I'll just say this. You know, I know my mom. She's told me stories how she's traveled to New York and with my great aunt, and when we would talk about hip hop discussions. Because I'm not a historian when it comes to music and hip hop. My mom was more on that, but I love music. So she basically was just like they didn't. My mom was like, all these fucking Mexicans and all these Puerto Ricans. She really used to go hard on the Puerto Ricans. They didn't even like niggas. They didn't even like our music. And they would tell their Puerto Rican kids, don't fuck with them niggas and that music. Now, and my mom is from the 50s and 60s. And she was saying that about our music. So I'm asking you today, my brother, you're from the Mecca of hip hop. Why do they, Fat Joe and Busta Rhymes, who I didn't even know he got his name from a football player. But anyway, why do they think they can take on our creation of hip hop?
That's a tough one. I would say more so because of the fact that we as as black people, as black creators, we didn't take we didn't keep our foot on the throttle when we created the hip hop. Right. So the hip hop was you had elements already around. You had the elements of hip hop all around the United States. Now, when they put it together and they called it hip hop, but of course hip hop was like I said, the elements was already there. Um, we did what we normally do with other race groups which is we invite them in. We say, hey, if you want to be a part of what we're doing, go ahead. As a matter of fact, we take pride in seeing another race do what we do, especially when you know that it was only meant for black folks. For a good example of this is if I was to throw out basketball for a hot minute, you use basketball. We see, we as black men, black women, we can do some phenomenal things in basketball. It can jump high, it can dunk and everything. Then when you see an Asian person come along and they can do they watch us and they emulate us and they begin to do what we do, we cheer them on. We take pride that someone else can use what we created, um, and then we say, okay, they're part of us, right? Because we feel like they are that we're teaching them something, that we're giving back. We also feel like we are a part of something bigger, um, as far as unity go. I don't see why, but it's just as far as unity go. We do the same thing with the rap game, and we allow these people to come in, and we don't put any stipulations and regulations and rules applied to it at first, saying, hey, you know what, when it comes down to it, here's the do's, here's the do nots, here's the could, and here's what you cannot do. Right? We don't attach any code of ethics to the hip hop game. I'll say we haven't attached it to the hip hop game. We haven't even attached it for ourselves from black to another black. You know what I'm saying? So when we take a look at that, you can see, for another example, with someone like an Eminem. Eminem comes along. We already had MCs. We already had dope MCs from over here in the East Coast to the West Coast. We already had dope MCs. Even in the Midwest, you know, so we had Rakim and Nas over here in the East. They, you know, in the Midwest, they already had like Bone Thugs and Harmony. They already came out with their own, pretty much their own style of rhyming. A lot of people don't feel it. You know, they harmonize, but nobody was rapping like that before they came out. You know what I'm saying? Not with that speed. And then you got MC Ren and all of that over on the West Coast. So you have like you have MCs all around. So the lyricism was already there. Then Eminem comes along. He's different from Vanilla Ice. We wanted Vanilla Ice to be down so bad. You know what I'm saying? Vanilla Ice was, you know, he was trying to copy off of MC Hammer. We didn't really buy that too much. He couldn't touch Michael Jackson, so we didn't even get into that part. But he pretty much bit off MC Hammer. He was rapping, but we didn't really buy it. Eminem comes along. He's more a comical lyricist. Notice when Eminem came out, Eminem was not, he was always lyrical, but he wasn't on top of his lyrical game at that point. He was just trying to get his foot in the door by being comical, just pretty much telling jokes. We embraced that. It's black folks, and we said we're gonna play this all the time on the records, on the record stations and everything. I'm talking. I know record stations and record labels are not controlled and owned by black folks, but when you have like someone like Funkmaster Flex, he can put down a little mix and say this is what I'm gonna put down, or DJ Clue, these type of different, you know, DJs. They embraced it and said we're gonna rock with this guy, and they blew him up more than what he expected. He didn't expect to get blown up like that. He really didn't. He said that himself, you know? So we embraced that, but we didn't add any stipulations. You know, we start labeling him one of the, you know, the best lyricists ever, or the GOAT, the greatest of all time and everything. And we've forgotten our other lyricists like Nas and stuff like that, who and Rakim and guys like that, and De La Soul and Cool G Rap and Heavy D. We forgot. And I can go on, MC Light and everything. We forgot a lot of our lyricists that spent a lot of time in the studio that really tried to make things happen. We forgot a Public Enemy who we don't give enough recognition to. Public Enemy, Sister Soldier, they were students of Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. They sat in her classrooms. They were students. They spit what Dr. Cress Wilson said and taught to them. They went and put that into a record form. That's what it was all about. And we forgot folks like that. And we give we take the props away from them, and we give all of the notification props all to someone like an Eminem, because the stipulations that we have is that same stipulation of what we had after slavery, which was white is better. We understand, we hear black is black power. We understand black is beautiful. But when it comes down to it, what can get us benefits and stuff, it's just trying to be white. So white is better. The ice over on that side is better. The green on the grass on the other side is greener. This is the kind of stipulations we attach to hip hop. So now you have Fat Joe come along as I don't know if he called himself a I've heard him say he's a Puerto Rican. You know, you got these guys that come along and they say, well, you know what, we can do what you do because we're the brown people, right? We're part of the color coalition. We're part of the rainbow coalition, the color people. We're part of the color society. So we're just like you. A lot of the times what happens, Warren G, is these dudes grow up in the same neighborhoods that we grew up in. They experience somewhat of the same type of poverty some of us may have experienced, and they went to the same schools we went to, so they feel like they are in the same boat with us. That's just what it comes down to. And again, we haven't attached any stipulation to that. So they attach themselves to our hip hop, to our creation of hip hop, and they say, well, shoot, since y'all saying the word, y'all saying nigga, and y'all calling each other nigga, and you know that people got killed over this, that people pretty much fought over this. You know that this caused, you know, gender wars, whatever the case may be. You know that this also made people laugh amongst each other. It was a joke at certain times. But they look at it and say, okay, you're in a circle, and you can call, you guys call each other, I can call y'all that too, because I could call another Puerto Rican that too. But they won't call each other spics. They'll call, you know what I'm saying? They'll use nigga all day, but they won't call each other spics because it don't sound right to them, and because they know there's a lot of hurt and things that come along with that. But if you are supposedly supposed to be a part of us, the black culture, then you should be more upset behind using the word nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about using the word nigga. You're not a part of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not black. You can't use that. But because we haven't put certain stipulations, then not only that, we tell black jokes to each other. They feel like they can do the same thing, but they don't tell Puerto Rican jokes, Spaniard jokes to each other, slave trade type jokes to each other, how their ancestors was raped. They don't tell those type of jokes, but they'll laugh at those jokes that we tell to each other. So they always want to do that. They attach themselves to our rap game, to our acting game, even to making beats. They attach themselves to everything that we do. But check it out, Warren G. When it's time to go through the fire, they nowhere to be found. They're nowhere to be found. Fat Joe feels this way because, again, he has the backing of, he's a popular rapper. He's familiar with all of the rappers. He considers himself the Don Dada. That's what he calls himself. So he considers himself the Don. Isn't that crazy? So he attaches himself to black folks, but his whole motto is the Italian culture. If you look at Fat Joe, look how he operates, look how he talk, look how he's trying to be an Italian. But then he wants to attach himself to our form of hip hop and our form of history. I remember at one point, I think this was like a year and a half ago, Fat Joe said that hip hop, he said rap music basically is like, he said something like rap music is basically like Afro beats. He said something like that. Like they the same. He was saying like they the same. So now he's on some tip where he's gotten bolder, where he's like, man, forget that. We own half of hip hop. Now, within another year, Fat Joe gonna be saying we created hip hop. If he's not gonna say it, the other guys are going. One of his followers, someone's gonna be bold. Once Puerto Rican is gonna be bold, and they're gonna say that. You know what I'm saying? And again, as black people, we gotta attach a stipulation. If you can't abide by this rule, you can't rock with this element that we created. Period. That's how we got to go about it. But we haven't done that, and this is why they feel like they can come up into our culture and claim things that they haven't created.
And I definitely agree with you wholeheartedly. You are correct. And I'm going to touch on what you said, our last one we did last week. And that had me thinking about it. And I want to talk to you about it today. That's very interesting. And I believe you that Fat Joe probably had already been saying it, because I think a lot of other rappers that are foundational Black Americans, that are natives to this landmass, their parents can trace their roots, their lineage back to the New York Kidnapping Club and all the other books that you've read and I've read. I just think that he knows that a lot of other Black rappers, they're not really concerned about it because they're trying to get to the bag. So I think this is his, and you're right. this is his way of, well, first I'm gonna say this, then if ain't nobody disagreeing, then I'm gonna go a little further, and then it's gonna get to the point where he's like, well, we created hip hop. We created hip hop. And the thing about it that I keep talking about is what offends me, David, is this, bro. You know what you're saying is a false narrative. Fat Joe act like he's my mama's age. And when you start listening to, that's what I wanted to talk to you about too. When you start listening to, because our people, that's what I love about my people, my black folk. When you start spitting false narratives, niggas is gonna call you out. And you know how many times I've looked on my timeline and I've seen black folks post interview from Vlad TV where I forgot the brothers. I think it was Grandmaster Cash who was like, them Puerto Ricans didn't even want to be bothered with black people. They used to say, turn off that jungle music. Now, all of a sudden, 30 years later, here comes Fat Joe talking about we should get 50%. Now, I can't, that's why I love interviewing you, my brother. I can only speak to the West Coast in California. And let me tell you, the Latinos on the West Coast do not fuck with black folk. They don't bother. They can't stand us. And this is not no lie. I experienced it myself. They don't like us. I come from the era where you wouldn't catch a Latino dressing like a black person, talking like a black person, acting like a black person. He'd be shunned from his community because I think the Latinos on the West Coast, there was more of a sense of pride because it's not a melting pot in California and LA. Now, this is no diss to my Puerto Rican brothers and sisters, but my question to you, David, is this. Why is it you can come in here and borrow our culture like a pair of Jordans, but during the Puerto Rican Day Parade is about Puerto Ricans? Why is it when you look around in New York, from what you said on many of our spaces, they have bodegas? I don't see no foundational Black Americans or no native blacks or indigenous people owning bodegas. I don't see it in that. But why is it we allow them to do that when we know they would never allow us to own a bodega in their community, to talk down about their community? Why is it they have such a pride? But then it's not really a pride because they're borrowing from our community. So why is it we allow them, David, to have a false sense of pride in their culture when they're borrowing and piggybacking off of our culture? Why is that, David? Because think about it, David. Before you answer this, I want you to think about it, my brother. You know good and damn well, if they could make it, if Fat Joe and Big Pun and them could have made it doing salsa music and Puerto Rican music, they would have never probably touched black music. But I think because black music is popular and you can make money off of it, now everybody wants to come over here. So why is it we allow this shit to happen where they can borrow our culture and our music like it's a pair of Jordans?
I think what it all comes down to is, as black people here in America, we're still trying to find our own culture. We're still trying to redefine what culture is to us. Because we're in that, we're still caught in that mix. Then you have a Fat Joe, you have the Beat Nuts and all these other Puerto Rican rappers, or Puerto Rican St. John B, Puerto Rican singer. You have these other dudes coming in, and again, they're going to attach themselves to our cause so that they can say they played a part in it. It's all to reap the benefits. It's the same thing like what they're doing when you just look at the construction industry. You look at the people the Mexicans always brag and say, well, we came from Mexico, we from South or anywhere, Ecuador, whatever in South America. We came from there. We're here in America, and you see them doing well. They're driving their pickup trucks and, customized pickup trucks. They got their companies and they're working on builders. And every time you turn around, they're just building houses. Anytime it's a housing development that needs to be built, they're there. And you're like, dang, but how they do all of that? They just came over here. Yeah, because they're getting the benefits that we should have gotten. Some of those benefits is not always money. A lot of those benefits is just information or just the resources, the ability to be able to tap into those resources. So the knowledge that they're given a lot of the times is the loans and things that they can take out and how they'll be qualified for it. As for us as black folks, we're already gentrified, red line, and everything. We won't be qualified for certain loans and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Wells Fargo, they already have, I think it was earlier this year where they had a 77% of turn down of blacks who actually applied for home loans. So out of 100% of blacks that apply for home loans within Wells Fargo, they turned down 77%. So what was what was the percentage in which you granted to the other race groups? So that means black folks had to be in the position, but you turned them down. These are the type of things that they are able to tap into that we can't. And there's ways around it that a lot of us don't know. The only way we'll know is if we're in that field, and we need someone from that field to bring it back to the hood and tell us, or bring it not even back to the hood. Maybe you may live in the suburbs or country and you just don't know. You don't have, you never thought about the information. And so and you don't know where to start, where to even look. The next black man, the next black woman may have all of the information that you need, but if they keep it to themselves, you ain't going to get none of that. You'll never know where to start looking. So you're going to be stuck in your situation. Meanwhile, these people are having meetings with their white counterparts, and they're getting access to these resources. So we haven't attached that. We haven't, again, attached any type of stipulations when it comes to our creations. I know this to be a fact because I was talking to this Latino dude. As a matter of fact, he was a Mexican, and he was telling me that how I could build wealth. No, he's telling me how I need to start a business, whatever, because he's seen something different about me when I was working. So he's seen something different. He said, "Man, you seem like a nice stand-up guy." He didn't even know me. I said, "That's because I am. I'm proud of being black." You know what I'm saying? It's B1 FBA over here all day. So I'm like, "Yeah, I'm black. Yeah, of course." So he's like, "Man, he's telling me about how all of these, how I can start my own business." And I'm saying to myself, like, okay, I started my own profit, but I ain't going to let him know that. I'm going to let him believe that I don't know anything. Because he's telling me this because he's probably thinking because I'm black, I don't know this. Because they're brainwashed before they even come to this country into conceiving certain thoughts about us the same way the native-born Africans and Jamaicans are. So I'm like, I ain't going to say nothing. And he begins to start telling me how to start my own business and the benefits that I should reap. I'm like, yeah. And he's telling me how he has meetings with these white people weekly, and they keep them updated on the resources and the things that they can tap into. And I'm like, really? I said, well, is this just you? Or is every Latino? And he said, well, he said, everyone that I know. He said, I know a lot of us that came here. So I'm like, wow, boom. So that's just him. I wonder how many other of these Puerto Ricans or Latinos have the same type of story. You know what I'm saying? As for us blacks, we don't have that. We got to sell out in order to get that. And most blacks, we're not worried about doing that. You know what I'm saying? The B1 people, we're not trying to sell out. The FBA people, we're not trying to sell out. The people that classify themselves as African and new breed type of Africans, not those people that call us Akadas. We talking about the new breed that's proud of just their heritage. We're not trying to sell out. These people are willing to sell out to get their house and to get their family out of their condition in their own country. That's the stipulation that black people are not willing to sacrifice. So when it comes to our hip hop game, Warren G, we haven't established that same type of stipulation where we're not going to satisfy other folks by selling out. We do sell out, and the culture that is given to us is through hip hop. Is not the culture that we create. Frances Cress Wilson, she said this, right? She said that hip hop told our women what we would be, but the white supremacists who control the entertainment, they told our women that you're gonna be hoes, you're gonna be a slut, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna be a B, you're gonna be all of this and that. So women turn around and they call themselves that. I'm a hoe, I'm a slut, I'm a B, I'm a savage, you know? And then they tell our men the same thing. You're gonna be a nigga, you're gonna be a thug, you're gonna be a baby, you're gonna be a youngster, you're gonna be a crip. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna be this and that. You're gonna be nothing. You're gonna be a dumb nigga. You're gonna be a crazy nigga. And this is what we turn around and call ourselves in our songs. And we call other people that too. Our own people that, I should say. And so we haven't came around to it and said, nah, we ain't saying that, man. We ain't doing that. Only thing we have to do is stop. And if they say, well, you ain't getting paid, well, you say, well, whatever, I'll go over here and create my own. They scared of that. But the thing is, it's reverse psychology. They have us by the foothold because they control entertainment. So because they own and control entertainment, they control our money flow. We believe that they control our money flow. And we believe that if we do what they are telling us to do or what they commanding us to do under that contract, if we don't do it, then they're going to expose us. You know what I'm saying? They're going, not only they're going to expose us, they're going to leave us dry. We won't get paid. You're going to go through all these legal terms, all of that. It's so much to it. So a lot of the culture that's been given to us through this hip hop now, again, it's been given to us. We haven't created. When we created hip hop, Fat Joe and these Puerto Ricans was on the side, like, yo, how they did that spin on their head? Or he did graffiti. How is he drawing like that with a spray can without even messing up? How did he get up on that train? How did he climb up on the bridge like that? How do you know? And it's like, how did they couldn't comprehend? You know what I'm saying? They were still playing their Puerto Rican music with the guitars and all of that stuff, but even their music is an imitation off of African music. If you listen to African music, then listen to their music. It's the same exact thing. You know what I'm saying? So all the way around, they don't have no culture when it comes to music. The only culture they have is ours. But they had to attach themselves to ours. And so we got to have some rules and regulations when it comes to this, man. We got to protect this like it's our baby. We got to be protective, like a man is with his daughter, or like how a father should be with his daughter, or an uncle should be with his niece, or a bigger brother should be with his little sister, how a husband should be with his wife. You should be protective over this hip hop industry because of the fact that had we mastered it, had we controlled it, it would have been ours, and we wouldn't need. I don't want to say. I was about to say we wouldn't need reparations. I'm not going to say that. I take that back. But what I would say is, the striding for reparations, as hard as we're going right now, will kind of be simmered down from a 10 to a 9 because we're already bringing in $1 trillion a year to our community. You know what I'm saying? So we allowed them to come and be a part of our parties. And so when hip hop was started, some of them were there and they could say, we was there. So we remember that. So we was a part of it. You wasn't a part of it. You just witnessed it, you know? And that's just what it comes down to. It's the same thing. It's no different, Warren G, than the whites who attach themselves to our movements with the NAACP. We know that that wasn't started by blacks, but the NAACP, they copied from the Niagara movement. With W.E.B. Du Bois and William Monroe Trotter, they started the Niagara movement. That was supposed to be for blacks. But, you know, William Monroe Trotter was more of a black radical than what he was more of a radical for black people than what W.E.B. Du Bois was. You know what I'm saying? So, but at the same time, it was supposed to have been for us, by us. And then we attached ourselves with them. They attached themselves with us. And they said, let's make it about color people. It's for all of us, not just for just one of us. You know what I'm saying? And so it's the same thing. They continue to do it. One last example I'll bring up is you look at martial arts. Martial arts be created by black people. And as a matter of fact, we mastered martial arts before we even came here. And this was all around, this was globally. This wasn't just Africa. This was like everywhere. We mastered martial arts. And then even after slavery, after civil rights and all of that, we still had that with the 54 block dudes up in New York and all that. Like we already mastered that stuff. When the Asians came over, they already had learned from us, from the Africans who already was brought over there and turned into, they were, first samurais were black. The first ninjas were black. You know what I'm saying? And when they went over there, they taught them, those Asians, they went over there in the slave trade, they taught them how to be masterful, how to study animals and make the same movements and things like that as they do. And then they took it, as Chinese people do, as Asian people do. They watch, they don't create, they just watch what you do and they re-engineer it and try to make it better. That's all they do. They don't create nothing. They create nothing. They're just like whites. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they did. And then they brought it back over here to America and gave us a carbon copy. But again, we already been doing that. The blacks here in America already been with the martial arts. You just can't use martial arts against a gun, a bullet. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is like, we have to be able to take what we have and not be so quick and not be so fast to get rid of it, to sell it, to show other people. When Bruce Lee was straight, until Bruce Lee started revealing secrets and sayings about the Asian culture, he got killed. You see what I'm saying? Jackie Chan almost got exiled for that. This is what they want us to do. A perfect example of this is if you watch Rush Hour 3, you'll see. Just look at it. Chris Tucker as representing the black folks, and look at Jackie Chan as representing the Asians, and you will see that they really don't want to be a part of us. They just want what we have, but they don't want to be us. You know what I'm saying? Because when they know we go through the fire, they don't want to go through that fire.
Ooh, I agree. I agree with everything you're saying, and you broke that down. Like you really broke that down, man. And oh man, it's true, man. Because I start to get a little bothered because now it's out of control. When you got Busta Rhymes, saying that, putting out false narratives, and when you got Fat Joe putting out these false narratives, and then I saw another clip from the No Jumper podcast where there was this brother, because it was a Latino. I think he's from the West Coast, and he was just like, no, we don't want to sign to the blacks. Fuck that. We don't want to sign to the blacks. But if you look at his content, he's nigga, gold chains, gold teeth, trying to talk like us, mimic us, basically being a Tekashi Snitch 9. And this is what I'm used to seeing from the West Coast, being in LA. And there was a brother on there, I retweeted it, and he said, I'm paraphrasing. He basically said, David, then nigga, that's not your culture. So don't say nigga, don't do rap, do the music from your culture. Don't do our music. See, I don't think these other racial groups, David, understand, my brother, that they're awakening us. We're already awakening. See, this is like the Matrix. And you got a whole bunch of people that are going and listening to our ancestors. And then we have the people like you that have taken the information from our ancestors. And you're like, hey, Warren, wake up, bro. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you got to wake up. Take this pill so you can really see what's going on. And now that so many of us are being awakened from that slumber, we're calling out names like Corrupt did in 98. And I feel good about it because black people are starting to have a sense of pride, bro. So with that being said, do you think the reason why a lot of these non-foundational black Americans are non-natives and other racial groups and immigrants, do you think they're able to do this because of lack of knowledge and history of what we've contributed to this country and what we've done? Because I feel like, David, let's keep it a buck, my brother. I feel like a lot of our people, they don't even know we built this country. They don't even know we invented the light bulb. They don't even know we invented the iron. They don't even know we invented the air conditioning, the first automobile. Do you think these other racial groups are able to kind of come in and infiltrate our culture because we don't know what we've done in this country? Talk about that, my brother.
Yes, I think it's everything like what you just said. A lack of knowledge, and not only that, a lack of unity. You cannot get by on the people who are unified. It's impossible, especially if they're historically unified. You will not be able to get past on them. One of the tricks that these whites played on us was they they erased our historical memory, and they did that by simply telling us we don't have a past, we don't have a land, we don't have anything that we can go back to. We started here. They When the blacks didn't buy that, like Nat Turner and them, they said we ain't buying that. We still going. We heard about what happened in Haiti. I heard about it, and I'm going to do the same thing. But I ain't going to wait long. I'm going to kill everybody tonight. When you see someone like that, and he unifies people, it would have been they would have taken over Virginia had it not been for one of us who went back and snitched, who went back and told to get material manumission. Black folks is unified with that. I'm not saying all, but a majority of them was. We know with the Stonewall Rebellion, it would have been. We know with Denmark Vesey, oh my gosh, there would have been no slavery would have been outlawed in South Carolina if Denmark Vesey would have been able to. Uh, if that snitch waited one more day before he had snitched, Denmark Vesey went through, it would have been a Rizzles. But it didn't happen, unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? But when it comes down to it, the unification, man, these people already they had a figure, they knew, yo, man, we do got a history. Yo, we do got a people abroad. We got people all over, whatever. They go, all right, they going through this, but we gonna be the first ones to get our freedom. We ain't waiting for nobody. We ain't gonna do exactly what they did, or we may do exactly what they did. Whatever the case may be, we getting ours tonight. We getting ours tomorrow. But again, you always got that one. Busta Rhymes in this situation is that one. I mean, there's other ones too. You got KRS-One on there. KRS-One don't give it to Fat Joe, but he'll give it to Kool Herc. And stuff like that. But when you look at it, man, the unification and again, our historical memory, when they had the breeding plantations here, they breeded blacks. Those black babies that were breeded then sold to another plantation. Those babies grew up to be young men, no knowledge of who they are, no knowledge of where they come from, no knowledge of their ancestors that came before them. So they believe that they're supposed to be in that condition. They thought, this is work. This is I just know that I know that we're not supposed to be mistreated, whipped, things like that. But this is a normal work day. For me, that's the way a lot of the blacks thought. Until you had someone like a Nat Turner coming around saying, yo, you heard what happened in Haiti. And they're like, what's Haiti? What is that? It's another land. You didn't know it? Yeah. And stuff like that. And it's like, yo, they used the Bible against us. You know this is a slave Bible. Here's what it's really supposed to be used for. It's supposed to be we supposed to wreak war on them, all like that. And it's like, oh, hold on, now it's a different side. You got someone who knows about themselves, who know their history, know where they come from. So it's hard to change that person's mind. Nobody would have been able to change Nat Turner's mind. You know what I'm saying? From rebelling. Or his people, because his people was just as down as he was too. His wife was down just as much as he was too. She played a major part. We got to do the same thing when it comes down to our culture. We got to say, yo, we know who we are, right? We're not going to start our history from slavery. We're not even going to start it from kings and queens. Let's start our history from our inventions, from our scientists and engineers, from our clothing line makers and car makers and our shoemakers. Let's start our history from the people, the black people here in America who saw how the death frequency for black people was so high, working with those steam engines. He said, I'm gonna come up with a way that we can get these trains to stop on an automatic, where we can lubricate these brakes where it won't overheat. And you know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna make it, I mean, because this it's too crazy right now. You know what I'm saying? So we have to look at that and be proud of it. Yo, bro, it's just like what you said. A lot of us don't know our history, and I think a big part of that is because we're not taught it, but we have the technology now. But even so, when you teach it, it's like our youth is so far gone, they're kind of like not really excited about it because they're more so excited about the electronics. So when a Fat Joe comes around and says, "This is what I did," over to Kakashi, whatever this creep name is, when he comes around, people think he's real. They think he's gangster. But this is a dude that would actually snitch and get someone killed because he's so scared for his life. These people are like that. A lot of folks in New York City, the city where I'm from, Warren G, they don't even understand the impact of Granville T Woods. Had there been no Granville T Woods, had he not invented what he invented, New York City would not be the touristy section of the United States. It would not be, we would not have the public transportation that we have, where you can go underground into a train, into a subway, and catch a train and travel from borough to borough within a matter of minutes, because Granville T Woods created that third rail. If you take a look at it, there's no history anywhere of any subway being made before Granville T Woods' creation of the third rail. That third rail granted the access to get the trolleys off of the street and put them underground, because people was dying from those power lines popping and falling on people. It was okay as long as it was falling on blacks. But when it started killing up the whites, it was like, man, we got to do something about it. They knew Granville T. Woods already had the creation, but they started funding them with the money. Hey, we'll give you the money to make more and more, you know what I'm saying? And he went, took that money and patented it. He did it smart, took it and patented it. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, it's like, had it not been for every school in New York City should be named after that man. The public transportation is named the MTA. It should be named after Granville T. Woods again. And because of and not only that, we have lights down there in the train, in the subways. That should be named, that every light bulb should be named after that's my brother name, not Benjamin Bennett. I can't remember the name at the moment.
Lattimore.
Yeah. Yes, Lewis Lattimore. That's every light bulb should be named after him. Every electric company should be named after him. But I understand why it's not. These electric companies were involved in the slave trade. You know what I'm saying? So, but now it should be named after him, or he should have his own. But it's not. Had we understood that, just those two men alone, just those two, I mean, there's many more. Just those two men alone pushed America to the highest level, to where people are creating things, and it, not only because of the intelligence that they have, but because they got light, because they got electricity to turn on a light bulb. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not gonna blow. So had we knew that in New York City, the black people in New York, we would be so proud of being black in New York. But instead, when these people have their parades, we want to get in on parades, and when we can't get in, we get jealous. And it's natural. I've gotten jealous. I still get jealous, because I know that black people, we get our parades, but we shoot each other after our parades. You know what I'm saying? We wind up getting into fights and all of that stuff. Like, we can't have nothing peaceful because you always got that one sellout. Either he want to be gangster or he want to be white. Whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is like, I get jealous sometimes. I get frustrated because these people come over and they claim that they got a culture and they having their parades and they're marching through with their flags and they're happy. And I'm saying, yo, do you even know what the red stand for in that flag? You know what the blue stand for in that flag? Do you understand what the white stand for in that flag? But you waving it and you're speaking their language. What are you proud about? Your dances and your music emulates African music. Your flag and your language emulate the European culture. What culture do you have? You don't got none. And there's history behind you having none. But there's history behind us having a whole bunch of it. But we're not proud of it. As soon as you tell a black kid, yo, man, you know about Benjamin Banneker? You know he created Washington, D.C., right? Yeah, okay, yeah. Yo, you tell them, yo, look it up, man. They ain't never gonna go and look it up. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard. And then when you try to talk to the older people about about being proud of being black and how we need to redefine what black culture is, they look at you like it's like that's old stuff, as if like, yo, you know, like you're talking about ancient times and BC times. And I'm like, we need to be proud of everything that we did. A lot of blacks are. I'm not going to say some, you know, most of us aren't, but a lot of blacks are really, really proud. And they walk around with that. They wear it as a badge of honor. Their skin color is a badge of honor on them. I know I do. But simply when it comes to being effective, a lot of blacks ain't listening and doing. Neely Fuller was asked if he believes that the government is watching him and stopping his movement. He said he said the government ain't stopping me because people are not doing what I'm telling them. Well, I taught they're not doing it. This is what Neely Fuller said. And he said if the government is only going to watch, they're not going to watch the speaker. They're going to watch the listeners. When the listeners start reacting, then they got to take care of that leader. You know what I'm saying? Either by doing three things like what John Henry Clark said, either they're going to take your life, drive you into exile, destroy your character. You're going to do either one. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would say, brother. It all comes down to that piece.
Hey, you just dropped, man. I'm glad you said that because Neely Fuller Jr. did say that, and he also remember what he said too, David. Remember, it was like, well, I don't know what chapter that was in the book, but he was like, every black person on the planet, black men, you are a child because you are in the system of racism, white supremacy. So you're not even a grown man. You're not an adult because an adult is able to make decisions and prosper and do things for his family. He said, but you can't do that in the system of racism, white supremacy, because they dominate those 9 area of people activity and they basically control what you do. Now, if you think about what he said, David, let's just transpose that. Basically, well, really, you don't really. Basically, what I interpreted from Neely Fuller Jr., you tell me what you think. Well, basically, you ain't got no motherfucking rights. And those rights are some bullshit that they gave you just to stall time. Those rights are really for white folk because they can come in there, they can come in your house, they can search your car illegally, they can do all kinds of shit and it'll be justified. Look at that killer, those killers from Breonna Taylor's situation. Those cops colluded, got together, lied on that report so they can have a warrant to go in there. That whole shooting could have been avoided. And they knew that, but they did it anyway because we're the victims of racism, white supremacy. And I believe wholeheartedly what you said, and I've heard Neely Fuller Jr. say that. He said it in his book and he said it on his talk show. And I think he's even said it with Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, if I'm not mistaken, that they don't really look at the leader or the person that's speaking. They're going to look at how many people are following. You know, think about it like this. Do you think if more black folk started waking up listen to what's going on, and saying, you know what? No, we're not voting. Let these old people go vote, but 50 and down, we're not voting for nobody until you give us what we want. I think then they would change the paradigm. It would shift the paradigm, and I think they move the goalposts. So, with that being said, do you think that when it comes not just to hip hop, I'm talking about us culturally, period. Do you think if we start taking our culture back and holding people to a different standard that are not a part of our culture, you think we would be more respected? And I'm gonna give you one example. Why is it all these black people are treating the game like he's crazy for dissing Eminem? Why are they holding this white boy in the? They hold him. I feel like sometimes they hold Eminem in more regards than they do Nas, Rakim, Jay-Z, Biggie. Like Corrupt. You got all Andre 3000. You got all these dope ass, for the most part, black, you know, prominent MCs, Pac, but it's okay for the game to go at 50 Cent. Remember that when he was going at 50 Cent, it was okay. The record labels loved it, everybody loved him. But now he calling out Eminem. Now I even see black people, oh my God, I can't believe this, and what is you doing? And this is crazy. Why is that? Why do you think that's happening? Because I don't think we're taking our culture back. So why do you think that that's happening? And do you think we should start taking the culture back and holding everybody that's not a part of our culture to a higher standard? Like, no, you can't just come into our culture and do whatever you want. We're going to praise you. We're going to hold you to a higher standard. What do you think?
Yo, I think, you know what, and it's deep in what you said with him going at 50 Cent. I think that pretty much it sums up like it's you pretty much just says you dropped something crazy because I forgot about that. I forgot about the whole rift between Game and 50. Yes, you're right. We do need to begin to start taking hip hop back. And I think that we need to start redefining what black culture is. Like we have the powers in the words. So the word is only as powerful, right? The rule itself is only as powerful as the person who keeps it. You know, they tell us that money is a powerful tool. But if all of us as black people begin to start saying, well, we're not holding money to the standard, we can care less about money, um, we're going to use our resources to trade off with each other. We're just going to use money to buy that stuff, but we're gonna focus more on the resources. So instead of me, giving you money, I'm just gonna, we're just gonna I'm gonna trade off. We're gonna trade some, sneakers off for some clothes, or trade some clothes off for some money, for some food. We're just gonna continue to do that. And we're gonna let it circulate. And although that can seem kind of like almost impossible at this point, it can be done because it's been done before through like barter trading and everything. We can do it, and if we were to do that, money would be meaningless in a big sense because you have the biggest spenders not using it. We ain't using it. We only using it to pay bills. So basically, the bigger companies, like the electric companies, these banks, they're the only ones getting paid. But these other like companies, these bodegas and these Walmarts and things like these people they're not making their money. They probably make some, but they ain't making what they should. They start losing money. They want to find out what we doing. So yeah, we can begin to start taking it. I think, and just to speak real quick on that Game Eminem situation, and you're right, when a black man goes at another black man and they have a dispute, it's okay because that's entertainment. This is how the white supremacist has taught us entertainment. They taught us that in order to be entertained, this is how you go at each other. It's nothing new. They did it in slavery with the whole paper bag theory. The whole paper bag theory don't only come from the skin color, but it also comes from the fighting. That's how the word mother effer was derived. You know what I'm saying? The brown paper bag played a big you know, it was a pretty big symbol in the eyes of these white supremacists, these slave owners. You know what I'm saying? And they had, you know, blacks put on these paper bags around their head, or cover a blindfold even as well, and fight against each other, and they have them fight to the death. And it became entertainment. That was their boxing. That was their martial arts. You fight to the death. Look at UFC. Who's the biggest participant in a UFC fighting? It's dope to some people, but what race group is the biggest participant? You know what I'm saying? It ain't us. We in it, but we're not the biggest ones. You know what I'm saying? So we don't make up the majority of the UFC. When you look, it's barbaric. That's their form of entertainment. When you look at hockey is a smooth game created by blacks. That was created by black people, hockey. Now, when you look at the barbaricism in it, that was not created by us. It was not part of the game. They made it a part of the game, knocking each other's teeth out, all of that stuff. You know, that's them. But they taught us that's a part of the hockey culture. So if you want to be entertained in hockey, that's a part of it. That's a part of it. You know what I'm saying? So they taught us that fighting against each other, black on black crime, is the true form, or black on black violence, I should say, is the true form of entertainment. And so we took that and we emulated it. We began to innovate it and take it to another level, to a point where they don't even gotta tell us to do it anymore. We just do it on our own. So when when the game goes at 50 and game has some issues, it's no problem. You see what I'm saying? But then when game has a bit of an issue and goes at Eminem, now it's a problem. We have to jump in and defend our slave owner, because, like the great Neely Fuller says, we're still boys in the eyes of the white supremacists. We're still boys in their eyes. So we always have that need in which we don't. We feel like we have to protect our masters. We got to protect the white folks. We got to protect all other cultures. We just have that in our DNA. It's post-traumatic slave syndrome. We still have that slave syndrome, to where when we see our master about to be killed, or somebody's attacking them, before the attacker can even raise their hand downward, when they raise their hand and they're about to put their hand downward to strike our master, we're already grabbing their fist in the air and saying, no, 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 you know, you can't come at my master. We still have that syndrome in our DNA. We haven't fully eradicated it. I think that we're beginning to do. I think a lot of black folks are beginning. I think you said it in your show the other day. That just had me laughing. You said, oh, that's right on right crime. You talking about a dude that was getting beat down by the police officers. As soon as you discovered, because at first you had a heart. You was like, man, they doing them like this. And then you said, oh, he white. You said, all right, white on right crime. I'm moving on. You said, time to move. And literally you just moved on, as if it was never, like you never talked about it. And that thing had me laughing, because it was like, I think that's the attitude we got to take on. Like, yo, it's not part of our problem. Let them hold that. Let them take care of that. We don't got to take care of all of that. You know what I'm saying? Let's rediscover ourselves. And I think through knowing our history, that's probably the only way we'll have a chance to rediscover ourselves and begin to define what black culture is, and what is and to throw away the hypocrisy that's given to us of what black culture is.
Hey, man, hey, I didn't mean to do that shit. It just came out, man. Because I'm looking at things, you know, I'm kind of reading, and I'm like, damn, they do. Because I kept seeing it on Twitter, but I didn't see the whole thing. So when I saw the whole thing, I was like, oh, that's a white dude. Oh shit, that's white on white crime. I ain't got. That's how they do us. That's how they do us for the most part. I don't care what nobody say. Like, I'm not an expert on the history of hip hop. I'm not a historian when it comes to hip hop. I told y'all, I don't front. I don't act like I know that. You know, I'm still coming to the knowledge and reading and stuff like that. But I can tell you this. I'm a historian at the corporate plantation. And there ain't shit a person could tell me that I have not seen, witnessed, or been told or know of the evils the dominant society does in the games that they play when it comes to the corporate plantation. So I'm like I said, I ain't a historian to everything else, but when it comes to that corporate plantation, now that's some shit you ain't gonna. That I know hands. I don't need to read no book. And honestly, tell you too, bro, I've been working on jotting down notes to write a book on my experience because to me, I feel like it all relates to us. And they don't have a fear of everybody else. They just only got a fear of us because they know we are natural leaders. Do you understand what I'm saying? And we know how to vibrate on a different level. And I feel like with this hip hop stuff, like when the game first came out, I always held him in higher regards because he was our age for the most part. He was knowledgeable. He was from the street. And I just felt like it was a breath of fresh air. I felt like we leaned on E40 and Cube and Snoop for so long. You know, we needed somebody fresh. So when he came, I just like, this dude is dope. And he's always been like one of my favorite rappers. You know, not just because he's from the West Coast. So when he went at 50 Cent, I didn't really like that either because I felt like, well, damn, we kind of taken away from all the black folk making money. But okay, that passed. I didn't hype it up. I just said that passed. But then here it is. When Nick Cannon went at Eminem, everybody was calling Nick Cannon crazy. And I was like, damn. And then when the game goes at him, and the game was a real lyricist by this point. The nigga got, what, 10 albums? He's a proven lyricist. And you feel like because he is just a regular black person come from the hood, that's not more relatable than Eminem. How is Eminem more relatable than the game to black folk?
Because they look at him as the epitome as a lyricist. That's why they look at him.
Okay, here, let me ask you another thing. Why is it when Lord Jamar called him out, Lord Jamar was not saying shit that was untrue. He was saying how a lot of black people felt. My older brother, he's like 10 years older than me, he couldn't stand Eminem. He was mad at Dr. Dre for doing it. Like, how Dr. Dre gonna do that? And as a kid, you know, when Eminem came out in 97, 98, you know, we kids, you know what I'm saying? Like, we think it's cool. But from my brother's perspective, and he's a lot older and much wiser than me at that point, he's like, no, he's taking away opportunities from black artists that are starving, that really can rap. And he's like, he hated it. Because I had Eminem CD. I had Eminem's, I think, second CD. You know, I think the one in 2000. After that, I didn't buy a lot of his stuff. And then I bought one that I think Dr. Dre, because I ain't gonna lie, I bought a lot of music for the production. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not making no excuses. I bought his CDs too. And I remember David, I was listening to that CD he did in I think 09, and Dr. Dre had did like 10 songs on there, or like 6 songs. And me and my brother was listening to it, and he was like, Dr. Dre must have did that. And then we look at the credits, because that's when you look at the credits, and he's like, yeah. He's like, see, the first thing my brother said was, see, Dr. Dre wrong for that shit. You got Game, you got all. That's when he wasn't fucking with Game no more. He's like, you got Game, you got all these people out there that can use that beast, but you want to give it to that white boy? He was like, he wrong for that shit. And I started to awaken, my brother, because I was like, damn, he is right. Like, damn, nigga, Eminem he already got a fan base from white people. He doesn't need any more help. And you keep giving him help. It's like, damn, nigga. And I felt in my heart when the Game had that diss record, I listened to it. I've been listening to that album since it came out. The Game wasn't calling him all kinds of bitch niggas. The Game was using science. If you go look at that Eminem diss, listen to it all the way through, my brother. Just listen to it. He's coming at him from a scientific perspective. He's using a Dr. Francis Cress Welsing about like, basically, nigga, you're just appropriating the culture. You're not black. You want to be black, but then again, you really don't want to be black. You know what I mean? That type of stuff. And that's why I was so upset with my people, because people were on Twitter, oh, Game, why we, you know, you shouldn't go against him. Just like people was mad at Lord Jamar, but Lord Jamar was saying real shit. And he was like, I can't relate to that because I wouldn't talk shit about my mama on no record like that. It was like, and I can't relate to that because I'm not white and I don't understand that. And people got mad at him for saying, well, he's against hip hop. Well, nigga, he is against hip hop. Nigga, you didn't create this. And this is my final thing, man, before we get up out of here. Do you know that Irv Gotti straight told everybody, why y'all up here looking at us, why y'all not going after fucking Eminem for making a song dissing black women, calling them black bitches and niggas and monkeys? And it is a song of him saying that black women are dumb and they monkeys and all this other shit. And we still don't hold him accountable. That's all I'm saying. Because I can't, come on, David, I can't go amongst the white Jewish community and be saying all kinds of racial slurs, and you think they're gonna let me have a bank account? You think they're gonna deplete my stock, and they're gonna make sure I never work and I never get ahead ever again? And anybody associated with me, they're gonna fucking do that. But only with our culture, we'll let people bastardize it, you know, and do those things. That's why I was so proud of Game for going at him, because I felt like we need that. I'm pretty sure, David, there's way more MCs that really want to go at Eminem, but they're more worried about their political career in hip hop than really taking a stance. So that's why I'm like, man, we got to take our culture back, my brother. Everything you said was correct. I think a required reading should be Neely Fuller Jr.'s book, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's book, Dr. Joy DeGroove's book, and Dr. Anderson's book. Those should be required readings in our circles. I ask everybody, have you read this book? Those sisters that I was interviewing a couple of weeks ago, I told them, look, y'all need to get these books. And I texted to them, go read these books, because it's very important, man. Because a lot of people, David, man, they have not read these books, bro. They have not read these books, and they don't know. And you're right about Chuck D and them. That's why, wasn't there an album called Fear of a Black Planet? They got that from Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Just like Baby Boy, the intro to Baby Boy, John Singleton, he got that from Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Just like in Boomerang, when Martin and Eddie Murphy and them was at the pool table, and he was explaining how it's racist and how the white ball knocks all the other balls into the hole, and then what's the last ball? The black ball. And once you knock the cue ball in, the game is over. They got that from Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're right. That's a fact. She spoke about that in her theory about sports and balls.
And that's why, my brother, I feel like everything you said was so on point. And what I liked about it was what you said about Bust and Fat Joe. You weren't disrespectful. You were just giving science and facts. And that's what I liked about the game's diss. I just want you to go listen to it. Once you listen to it, you're probably going to laugh, because you're going to be like, see, this went over a lot of people's heads. See, because I felt like the game was so smart. He didn't come at him on oh, you bitch ass white boy. Woo. He didn't do none of that silly shit. He used science. He used science. And I feel like that's what we need to start doing by taking our culture back, David, man. I'm going to be honest. Like, how many Puerto Ricans you run across, or Latinos or Cubans or non-foundational Black Americans or non-natives you run across, and they say some out-of-pocket shit, and then when you hit them with a Dr. Francis Cress Welsing quote or a Neely Fuller Jr. quote, how many of them kind of look at you like they don't even know what you're talking about?
All the time, brother. I've seen it where when I lived in New York, man, and this is before I was like B1. I was pretty much, and this is around the time of Barack Obama. So everybody was in their feelings about Barack Obama becoming the president. So, you know, we all thinking like, this is going to bring us to the next level. I remember, and my daughter was in daycare at the time. The daycare owner was Dominican. She said, did you guys watch? I know you guys are happy about Barack Obama. I said, yeah, we got the black president now. She said, I'm so happy about that. I said, why? She said, because I told my son, like, look, Poppy, if he became the first black president, you can be the first Dominican president. Leeching. I just looked at her, but I didn't know what to say or how to articulate myself or how to really. Again, I wasn't B1 at the time. But it did rub me wrong. Like, why did you wait for one of our people? I would say, why did you wait for a black person or a half mixed black, whatever you want to call them? Why did you wait for a black person, a black president, to say, okay, now you can become, you're telling your children now is the time. So before that, it was like you had no shot. But now it's like, oh, now you got a shot because the door's open. If it's open for them, for the Negroes, it's open for you. So even though most Dominicans are black, but they ain't gonna say that. I looked at that and I'm like, yo, but I think about it now and I'm like, leeches. It reminds me of the whole Fat Joe scenario, which is they stood by, couldn't create nothing, looked at how we've done everything and said, can we be a part of it? Let's just stand in the crowd. Let's clap our hands. And then, oh, I got something. Let me get a rhyme in there. Then you say a rhyme and we like, oh, that's good. And now you feel like you're a part of what we started. But you're not, because you ain't start nothing. You just witnessed it from the side and you participated after it was done.
Ooh. Well, look, man, another hot topic. I just want to address it. I was tired of seeing it. I think next week, man, we need to do that Black Christianity in, part 2. We really need to touch on that, man, because these political parties know how to tap into that.
Tomorrow too. If you had a chance to do it tomorrow, I could do it tomorrow too, or whenever. Next week or
Well,
tomorrow.
no, we can do it tomorrow too. Shit, then cool. I hit you up same time, man, and we can do this Black Christianity thing, man, because it's so funny that you grew up coaching too. So once you told me that, I really was like, man, this is gonna be perfect, because I felt like a lot of people, not a lot of people, before I end this space, I just felt like, when you talk to Kojic people, especially specifically them, they think they way is the only way to heaven, like most religions. And then when you start poking holes in their theories and their I would say their formulas of how they bring people to church, and then not even that, I would say their SOPs, their operations and procedures, their standard operations and procedures. When you see how they operate, it's a lot different from what you would think that get into heaven would be. And that's fine, because religion is up for interpretation, the Bible's up for interpretation. But specifically the Church of God in Christ, it's not no diss on them. I just feel like, me growing up seeing that, I just feel like they weren't as influential as they could have been. Like, I never seen a Kojic church have Dr. Claude Anderson come there and preach and teach. But Fred Price, who's I think non-denomination and was on TV, he had Dr. Claude Anderson come and teach in like 97. So that, like, I just want to talk about that stuff and talk about, the detriments. And this is no diss, but it's like a lot of it I felt like we were like jogging in place. Because I know a lot of Kojic kids who went to Kojic and grew up Kojic, but they don't even know how to make it in this world. They don't even know how to deal with racism, white supremacy. They don't even know who Dr. Claude Anderson is for the most part. So that's why I feel like we want to touch on that. So we got to touch on that tomorrow, my brother. So I'm gonna close this space out, and I appreciate you coming on. And we gonna get it in tomorrow, bro. We gonna definitely get it in tomorrow. Let's do part 2, because we definitely need to get that Black Christianity, and not just focus on Kojic, but I like to focus on, because that's how I grew up, and I want to point out some of the things that have hurt the Black community and that we need to do better with. You see what I'm saying? So we gonna reconvene tomorrow. I'm gonna hit you up. Make sure we do it, and we gonna get it in tomorrow, my brother.
No doubt, bro. I'm good either 7:30 or 8, whichever one you want to do.
Okay, we can do 7:30. I'll get at you around 7:30, and we gonna go in tomorrow, my brother.
All right, no doubt, my brother. Yeah, you stay safe out there now.
Hey, man, you too. Stay safe, man. I'll holler at you tomorrow.
All right, later.
All right, peace.